Welcome everybody to the MiniMapCast. This is minimap.com.au's weekly games podcast. This is your favorite weekly games podcast. My name is Kerry Palmer, and joining me this week for the final episode of October is Jeremy Braditich.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloweeny.
Kinda. Like, we're early when we're recording, but when this episode goes out, we're timely.
Yeah. It's a really weird Halloween week happening this year, because like the last day of October is actually next Monday. We're going to be recording another podcast on the last day of October. But that's coming out on like the 4th of November, well past October. So like very strange trying to get it all to line up to enmesh, to lock in.
For the first time ever, we're able to do that. To look ahead.
Oh, why? Because we scheduled something more than 3 days in advance.
Yeah. But genuinely, like, we can see and then plan. Because otherwise it's
Seeing and planning is good.
Because otherwise we'll be recording on Halloween next week, I think. But
yeah, we will.
It'll go out a week after. Or 5 days after.
Too long after.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Jeremy, we're coming into... We're well into the second half of spring. The days are starting to get a bit of warmth. Well, the days have been very wet in Melbourne.
Yes.
But some of them have been a bit warm. And I was noting during the week that I haven't had a computer pump out this much heat before, especially not during summer. It's been quite nice during winter because I can like put my hand on top of my computer. I'm like, oh, just take the chill off my mouse hand. That's great.
Yeah, to have the
like
little bit of warmth on your toes.
Yeah, exactly. But then like we were playing Fortnite the other day and it was kind of warm and I was sitting here and it's like, it's like not even that hot and I'm kind of uncomfortable in here next to this radiator.
Yes, I know what you mean. The amount of times that I've like just been annoyingly warm next to my computer on a hot day, and it's like there's nothing I can really do aside from I can get the fan and blow cold air directly into the intake, but that just blows all the hot air immediately out and warms me up.
Yeah, it might make it that the hot air isn't quite as hot, but it will move it around more.
Yes.
You will notice it more.
Yeah. So it's a tricky one.
I mean, it gets hot enough in summer. We tend not to have the air conditioning on that much at home. But I do have just a little desk fan that I will put on most times.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it's going to be an interesting summer. I couldn't think why my old computer didn't have the same issue, and I think it's because I just pointed all the fans in the wrong direction. I pointed like 1, 2, 3, like 4 of them in, and it only had an exhaust out the back. So I think it never really circulated enough for it to be a problem. But I've got the exhaust pointing up towards me on this new computer with more airflow. So definitely noticing the difference. Jeremy, we're gonna talk about scary games, which I'm a little apprehensive about, and I don't know why, because we played the scary games, which was the
Sorry, have you done the intro?
Bit. No.
Okay.
I'm preambling.
Oh, okay, right. I thought you might have accidentally skipped it and just went straight into the topic.
No. I'm just.
Right. Cool. I'm also just making sure that I didn't accidentally zone out.
That would be funny if you did.
Yeah.
No intro. No intros yet. I was just commenting on how I was feeling apprehensive about this upcoming topic, but I really don't know why, because I played the scary game. And that's it. It's done now.
Yeah, like
no more scary games.
Well, just then it reminded me of there was a time I once I think I spoke for about a minute and a half, and then I asked you a question, and your immediate response was, "I'll be honest, I don't know what you just said," which is what I just felt for a moment, because I was worried that I completely missed something. That was so funny when that happened.
I forgot I did that.
Yeah, it was.
Was that
funny.
on air?
Yes.
Was that on the podcast?
Yes, it was.
Oh, how professional of me. Well, speaking of professional, have a listen to this intro, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. We're going to talk about scary video games this week before going into talking about what other games we've been playing this week, including a lengthy discussion about my time with Gotham Knights. But before we get to that, a bit of housekeeping. If you wanted to catch us every week as we do this show, you can find this show on any podcast platform of your choice. You can watch us as we record it live on Twitch at 5:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. And you can also find us on YouTube if you want to watch the video on demand later on in the week when the whole show goes live. You can catch us on all of those platforms. If you like what you're hearing, please give the show a positive rating wherever you're listening to us. And if you want to join us as we record the show, hang out and chat, or that's what you could do when you join us live. You can hang out and chat.
Yeah.
We are live every Monday, 5:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. As I said, that is at twitch.tv/MiniMapAU. It's a really good time when we hang out with the chat. We're live before we record the show, and then in the break, we hang out with the chat, and then after the show, we hang out with the chat. All those times, you can also message us during the show as well. It's a really good time. Be sure to keep up to date with us when we post a new episode or anything else for minimap.com.au. You can do that by going to the website itself, minimap.com.au. Minimap.com.au, did I say that wrong? Did I say that wrong? I think I did. You can also go to Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and our Twitch accounts, all of them at MiniMapAU. You can find those there. Our YouTube as well, but it's a little hard to find.
There's like the YouTube handles thing happening. I'm trying to grab that for the website.
Isn't that like what you can call your fans or something? Like it's a handle for people who watch your thing, and then when they comment in someone else's channel, it'll be like, oh, they're an LTT member, or like a...
Oh, is that what it is?
MKBHDer.
I didn't pay attention because handles only has ever meant one thing, and if they've decided to do something else with the name handle, then man, fucking YouTube.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like a title you can give to your fans that they can wear, that they can show off when they're in other channels.
That's...
like other Twitch streams,
yeah.
other live streams, rather.
Classic that company.
The classic doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
You can find all of our previous episodes on podcast services and YouTube and on the website, including last week's episode where we ranked all of the Apex Legends right before the announcement of the new character Catalyst, which I feel like if we'd done this topic 3 weeks, well, we probably would have needed more time with Catalyst. So we probably did it at the right time, but part of me is like,
Yeah, I did. It ended up just kind of being a little bit more serendipitous in terms of its actual relevance, which was funny. But yeah, we would have needed to get a better idea of Catalyst, I reckon.
Yeah, but
they
excellent.
Look cool,
that
though.
there is. Oh, Catalyst looks amazing, and there's going to be a new map. It's very exciting that there's an openly trans character in Apex. Although, when you consider that Bloodhound is non-binary, then they may consider themselves trans as well. We don't know. There may be the second trans character in Apex Legends. But that's an exciting thing for people of that fan base, us included. Last bit of housekeeping here. Last couple of things. We just wanted to say thank you to Shook for letting us use the Moog Model D Improv as the music for the MiniMapcast. You can listen to more of Shook's music at shook.bandcamp.com. And lastly, if you want to, I'm tripping over so many words right now. I don't know what's going on with me.
Sorry.
Final paragraph. Here we go.
Yeah.
Lastly, if you want to help keep the lights and mics on, you can throw $5 our way and become one of our patrons. It helps us to continue to do this. You can ask us questions to answer on the podcast, and it's as cheap as a latte with oat milk. You can do that by going to patreon.com/minimapau. So it's time to talk Halloweeny. This topic, you've kind of got the biggest idea of what you've got the vision for this topic.
Yeah.
It's like you're the voice, except you're the vision.
I can steer it.
And I'm going to try and understand it.
Yeah. So last week, when we were deciding what should we do this week prior to this episode, I looked ahead and I was like, well, it's going to be Halloween roughly when this episode comes out. Why don't we try and do a little scary little Halloweeny thingy
Halloween
for to celebrate it. As you can, as for the video viewers can notice, there are spiders attached to the wall behind me.
I literally didn't see those at all until you pointed them out.
There's a little skeleton, which is much harder to see than I expected.
Yeah, yep.
The light behind it is completely disguising it. But I know that Kerry doesn't like scary games. And so I peer pressured you into playing a scary game. And you did it, which I'm glad about. I'm glad and happy that you have done that.
Oh man, you would have been so upset if I didn't.
Yeah. So I'm glad you did.
I mean, I am too. I had a good time yesterday.
Yeah. And so the game you played was Resident Evil 8. And I was thinking,
I was tossing up between 2 and 8 in the end, but I think I've seen more of 2 overall.
I also think 2 is the 2 is scary, but it's not like 8 has horror moments, whereas 2 is just like intense.
Yeah, and like that over the shoulder, that sort of Resident Evil 4 style that they made it be when they remade it, is much more actiony than something like Resident Evil 7 or 8, which feels like it's much more inspired by PT. Than anything else.
Yeah, it's all claustrophobic, and it being in first person, and it being like just genuinely like a lot slower in terms of its combat. Makes it a bit more intense that way. But when you said you were playing Resident Evil 8, I was very excited, and then you decided to stream a bunch of it. How was the first? We're going to go into some. First and second big chunks of Resident Evil 8. Spoilers.
4-ish hours or so.
Yeah. How did you feel while doing the castle section, the vampire section of Resident Evil 8, Kerry?
How did I feel? It was interesting. I feel like I understood the section mechanically really quickly.
Yep.
To the point where I wasn't too worried as soon as the whole thing with the castle is you're walking around, you're like, oh, this is scary, and it's like, oh, here's Lady Domitresque, as her name is said apparently, and like she's tall and like, I don't know, I'm not meant to be there, so she's a bit annoyed with me, and her 3 daughters who are all made out of bugs for some reason, because Resident Evil. And once you like get introduced to them, once you find them, they start chasing you, and you'll be like walking through the main area of the castle, and it'll be like, oh, one of them will like float down in front of you and appear and be like, oh, I'm gonna eat your flesh because I'm a horny vampire lady and I'm so gonna kill you right now.
Yeah.
And pretty quickly it's like, oh, I'm gonna run the other way, and they don't actually give chase for that long.
Yeah, like they give chase in certain rooms, but they're vampires, they can't go out into the sun, and it is daytime, and
totally.
There are some like areas that they just can't get through.
And so it would be that I would run into one and be like, I either need to get there, so I'm gonna run back and wait for you to come towards me, and then I'm gonna run around you and go through where I was trying to get to. Or maybe I don't know where I'm meant to be. Let me pause the game and look at my map, plan my route, and then unpause the game and go there immediately, which was usually where I needed to go, which usually meant that they left me alone. Yeah. It's a pretty well-designed section in terms of like, it's like a pretty well-paced like escape room. Yeah, definitely. I think it feels a bit less linear than it actually is, but there are so many doors that are locked that like you pretty quickly go, I tried that, I can't get through there, or oh, there's a symbol on my map because this has got a certain lock, I just got that key, I'll go there next. Yep. Oh, I tried to go there and it's locked on this side, so I have to go in through the other building. Oh, Lady D's at the top of the stairs in this building, that's really scary.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest scares I had in that section, in the castle specifically, were relating to quote unquote jump scares, right?
Yeah.
Like sudden moments that I wasn't expecting. Like,
sure.
When you're in the sort of dungeon bit, there's times where there are monsters that jump up out of a pool of blood, and other times where something falls from the ceiling, or
when she cuts your hand off.
Like I said before. Oh yeah, when you go to open the there's a handle and you get it like 90% of the way there and it's just sliced off instantly and you have to run away from it and circle back to it.
Yeah, pick up your hand and keep going.
And then reattach it on the elevator, which miraculously reattaches the sleeve to itself too. It fixes your clothes.
Yeah, it's good, right?
It's so strange.
Yeah.
I like it. I like that it's like a canonized healing though. Like that he can sustain this much damage is part of the canon. It's not just like he's got plot armor. It's like, no, he can heal a lot.
Yeah.
Because of his history in Resident Evil 7 and also the green juice you make is quite potent.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, that's cool. I really like that.
And so you were playing this on stream.
Yes.
Which I said that was easy mode.
Yeah, you said I was cheating a little bit, yeah.
Which I don't necessarily like, like I was poking fun a little bit. But it does make it, I think, a bit more palatable. A little bit less scary. You're joking around. You got chat going. You got a camera on you, and you have something to take away just how scary everything might be.
Totally.
Which is also how you played Soma. It's
the only way I played Soma.
Yeah, and also how you played Echoes
Soma
of the Eye.
Yes, Jeremy. I really struggled with Echoes of the Eye.
Mm-hmm.
When we finished playing last night. So I played up until the end of Castle Dimitrescu last night on stream, and then we went away. We watched you play a bit of Scorn, which we'll get to a bit later.
Yeah,
and on your stream, and then Sam and I circled back and we played through the Dollhouse, the Beneviento, section on our own, but. Yeah, when we finished that section, Sam was like, what's the out of 10? How scary was that?" And I said, "Strong 6 or 7 out of 10." And Sam was like, "Oh, what would be a 10?" I was like, "Soma was pretty scary." And they're like, "I don't think that was a 10." And I was like, "Oh no, Outer Wilds." For me, that was a 10. And which is weird because it's not gory. It's not like even like existential horror. I mean, it's kind of tragic in a way that many parts of that game are, but that's not the scary part. But man, they don't even fucked me up.
Yeah, they don't even like kill you in that game. It's just like it's just a short punishment.
Yeah, but it fucked me up so much.
Yeah, and so then you played the Dollhouse section, the Silent Hill section, the PT section.
Yeah. The section was
8.
interesting. And because it starts folding in like hallucinations of Ethan's wife into the fold as well, which is because we just saw her get shot at the start of the game. Spoilers. And right from the start, it's very funny. I've watched when that game came out. It was not that long after the next gen started. Right, it was within 6 months.
Yeah,
and so I was watching graphics comparisons, and they would show parts of the opening 10 minutes, which is really not very long, before your wife gets shot, your baby gets stolen, and you get taken somewhere else, and you wake up in a ditch at the outskirts of this village. And I'm like, wow, this seems like a lot to happen, and it's a lot that they show you too, but it's so clear that something is off as soon as you start the game. Like, there's so much that they're not telling you.
Yes.
It's like, okay, something's wrong here.
Yeah. So how was the Dollhouse?
How was the Dollhouse? It was interesting. It was interesting.
And I just want to be very clear. I pushed for Kerry to play this off stream later in the night on the big projector.
Yeah, definitely. And like I think you're right too. I also think that I remember from like 18 months ago when you and June played this and spoke about it on the podcast, how much you spoke about the Dollhouse being the one that fucked you guys up the most.
Yeah.
And so I was expecting a lot, I think. And I think when we finished the house, we walked out, Sam was like, how was that? What do you reckon? I'm like, that was pretty intense, but I think it was better than I was expecting. And I think what made it really I'm going in there with such a not a game developer mindset, but an experienced mindset.
Yep.
That when I go in and I see these cupboards, I open it and it's like, oh, weird, there's nothing in there. And Sam says, can you go in? And I can. I'm like, oh no. There's a hiding mechanic that I have to use.
Yeah.
What am I gonna do? And I start thinking of Amnesia, and I start thinking of Soma in other ways, and those kind of hide and seek sections, which I'm really not a fan of, or like the Five Nights at Freddy's sections where you're like when you're not just a person in a room where you're actually on foot. And really, I think I only had to use one of those hiding sections one time. There was only one time I had to actually use it, and then I used it. And the thing came and went away, and when I came back, it was just nowhere to be found, and I got to go where I wanted to. And other times, I could just run away if I got confronted and go the second route.
Yeah.
But the tension and the not knowing what was about to happen before any monsters turn up in that house was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
You open the door and you walk in. And it's a pretty well-kept front few rooms in the house. In a kind of there's a doll over there, that's kind of creepy, and like, oh, there's just a bucket of apples over there, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
In like, thematic with the village, but it's quite an ornate house. It's well kept compared to everything else. And Sam was like, "Oh, this is weird because I like this. I walked in here and I'm finding it quite homely." Sam specifically. And then you go further and the wallpaper starts peeling, and then there's just an old service elevator in the back of the room, and it goes down.
Yeah.
And like it gets more and more messed up, and then you walk into the infirmary and there's a wooden mannequin version of your dead wife, and you start like popping off its limbs to get like keys and clues, and you have to find tweezers to pull something out of her mouth. And
so Sam was DMing me.
There's a well in the basement, and
So Sam was DMing me while you were playing, and they were like, so we got up to the dollhouse, but we're only up to the start where the house actually looks fucking cool. Like, this house is my vibe. And then 2 minutes later, they go, oh no. And then, oh no.
Mm-hmm.
It goes quite sour quite quickly.
Yeah, it does. A lot of... In classic fashion, I think, though, when you're playing a game like this, or you're being introduced to a new area or something like that, it happens in a way that there's a lot of tension and build up before anything actually happens, and you just don't know when the shoe's gonna drop.
Yeah.
So the shoe does eventually drop, and the big, like, bear-sized fetus starts crawling around in the basement. Shoes drop, surely.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not well versed enough to know.
The shoe falls. The penny flies.
The shoe fits
above
Kerry.
The farthing. Oh, the shoe fits. That's a good point. So the bear-sized fetus starts crawling around and screaming at you.
Yeah. Crying at you.
Yeah, it's quite confronting. Because it's like in a red corridor, so you have to run around. And by this time, you've explored basically the whole basement, and you're starting to get the runaround of like, go here to do this, to do that, to do this, to do that. And it's like, oh, there's a doll in the corner of the room, and then you come back, it's like, oh, the doll's gone. That's really scary.
Yeah.
But yeah, once the fetus was scary, but yeah, there was only one section where I had to hide. And then it came and we waited and we watched. And it was loud and slick and thumping around.
Yeah.
And then we walk outside and it's left blood everywhere. It's so gross.
Yes.
And I kept doing this thing where I kept trying to run with L1, which I think is the run button in Last of Us.
Right.
But it's your guard button in Resident Evil. So Ethan keeps like throwing up his hands when I keep trying to make him run.
Oh, it's a pretty horrific thing. He doesn't want to watch.
Oh my god.
Anyway, so you get to the dolls. How are the dolls?
The dolls were interesting. It was very quick. You go back upstairs and there's way more like dolls in that house, and then the main like bride doll called like Angie, I think.
Yeah.
Who's like screaming at you and wants to do a riddle, and you have to run around this top floor, which isn't too big, find her 3 times, while all the other dolls in the house start giggling
And
more
vibrating.
and more, and vibrating, oscillating. Their heads start going like in a really uncanny way, and it's the kind of thing of like, oh, this sucks. I gotta run. I gotta find her. I gotta find her quick. I gotta go. We didn't fail. I didn't really feel like I was in that much danger, and then it was over. It was over really quickly. I think it took us less than an hour to do the whole section.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, it was good in the end, but something my impression at the end of the day of this game was that it did feel a bit like a campy action game at its core.
Yeah. I've described it many times as a Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah.
As a good thing. That is a positive way I'm describing it. It is.
That's what it's going for.
It's fun.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, like when I played like that dollhouse section, like the 2 things that really scared me the most was being in the room with the mannequin that you have to take apart. Only because I was just so unsure that whole time that thing wasn't going to get up and try and kill me.
Oh, totally. And like there were a lot of really long corridors between it and where you had to go each time, and it was like, oh, you're stuck for things to do. Maybe walk back down this really long corridor again. And I was like, I don't want to.
Yeah. That and like the first time, like every doll in the house started to vibrate as they would attack me. Like that was fun. Like, you know, you get over that quite quickly because it's like it's the same thing every time. But like the first time you see all those fucking things and they start shaking and just like more and more aggressively, it was like, like fucking one fear. Like I need to get the hell out of here. So you played that is the scariest part of the game. Like there are still scary parts in that game. But that is the most horror section. Like there's no combat, all that stuff, right? Comparing it to Soma and comparing it to Echoes of the Eye and the Wilds, are those the only other horror games you've played? Did you ever play Amnesia, Cry of Fear?
I did play Amnesia. Sam and I played that a bit together. We didn't get that far. We got like an hour and a half, 2 hours in, and we took a break at that point because that's like, you know, a decent chunk of time. And I think we played it one more time, but we never really went back. We never really felt that compelled to go back. I don't think Sam and I got that much out of like both of us sitting by the computer with me on the keyboard and also
Amnesia came out at a very different time.
Yes, it did. And so we just kind of drifted away from that plan.
Yeah.
Gradually. So but that was scary. Soma is definitely the one I've played the most of that is like that. And I really enjoyed it in a way, but like not because of those scary sections. I think you remember when you get like thrown into that like subway and you got to crawl around and where there's like red lights. And
yeah.
And you got to crawl in some of the vents that are like, you know, like 20 centimeters tall and you could fit in them for some reason. And like there's some really spooky shit, but and also like the creature in the sunken ship, like, and like all the random stuff towards the end. Like it's a really intense game, but it's really interesting, like philosophically and like psychologically.
Like narratively that game is like really quite good.
And like conceptually the things that you're dealing with, this organic matter that's trying to be digital, that's trying to digitize and has become corrupted, like physically and biologically and like technologically, is quite fascinating.
So then how come with the Echoes of the Eye, what paralyzed you while playing that game?
I don't know what it was so much about that. I think because when you did get caught in Echoes of the Eye, it was quite shocking every time. Like the visual and audio stimulus each time you get caught in Echoes of the Eye was so intense. Like there's kind of like a shrieking that happens. The movement of the creatures that catch you is so uncanny and quite intimidating. They're very tall and they move so fast, and you can't see them until you can, and then they are right there, right in your face. There's something about that really fucks me up. Like sometimes I'll just be like, oh yeah, I remember Echoes of the Eye, and then I remember that time where there's a moment where you can turn all the lights out in the village, and then you hear all of the inhabitants of the village go like, and you hear all of their elevators go down, because they start protecting this one area. It's like, that's where I need to go though.
Yeah, I need to get there.
Like, there's such a sense of dread in that game, in a way that I think is too much. It was too much for me, and for others it probably isn't. It's not bloody, it's not horror, so it's fine. But I found them so intimidating, every time. Whereas this, like, I kind of once I saw the bear sized fetus baby, it's kind of like I understood it at that point, and I'm like, okay, you're not that fast. I'm gonna walk you around this side of the desk, and then I'm gonna run around the other way. Like I just kind of understood these. I understood, but I was scared of them. I didn't like. I thought they were beautiful creatures that I was terrified by.
Yeah,
it was, and the other thing is they really sold my my fear of them prior to confronting them one-to-one, because you see the slides of how they came to be in the solar system and how things ended up the way they were on the space station.
And it's just like a tragic story.
So tragic, right? But there's this moment where they're quite beautiful creatures, and they have this beautiful civilization. Spoilers for Echoes of the Eye. I really recommend you play it if you haven't yet. I'm going to keep going a bit more detail. But yeah, then there's that moment where they're like, oh, we spent everything to come here, and it was for nothing.
Yeah.
And you see them turn on the slides, and the music plays. And that is absolutely haunting. Like, those slides of them being filled with unmitigated rage for the circumstances, for misunderstanding what they thought was a benevolent sign, and being so upset at what has happened. Like, that sets the stage, that sets the scene for when you do finally meet them. So yeah, I can't say, I don't think it is going to be nearly anyone else's like scariest thing who has played all of those games. But yeah, for me, it messes me up.
Now that you've done, like, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, Outer Wilds, Echoes of the Eye, it's a different kind of horror. In terms of, it is not about violence, and it is not about, it is not even really about fear of the unknown. It's almost like a fear of the dark. Which it's a different fear. It's almost like a more childlike fear. And I think like the style of that game plays into it a bit more. With like its general art direction, and its more simplicity in its graphics, in the sense that it's not a realistic looking game like Resident Evil is, but a lot of horror games do go for realism often because they want to capture something that could be realistically happening to you, with outliers. I guess like the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise is an outlier where that game doesn't look realistic, but that game is still very scary. A lot of it is jump scares, but like the actual like intensity of that game inside of its own style, and similar, I guess, to like Hello Neighbor, where like that game is like it's pretty freaky and it's cartoony, but it's because it is all within this universe. And I think both of those games also definitely play into childhood fear type scenarios. Would you be, now that you have experienced Soma, which you quite liked, even though it was quite scary, and Resident Evil, that is, a horror action game, would you be more interested in going to some more generic-ish horror games like I'm not sure what they would be. Like maybe like Phasmophobia or Dead by Daylight or
Oh yeah, those multiplayer shenanigans ones are interesting, right? Because like there's always
it's a
a
different
multiplayer
layer.
to sort of take the edge off a bit.
Yeah.
Or theoretically, there's some hilarious clips of Phasmophobia of people freaking the hell out.
Sure. But like even something maybe like The Evil Within 2 or some of the other games of that style, like A Plague Tale, perhaps.
So interestingly enough, I actually played the first 2 hours of both Plague Tale games a couple of weeks ago for work.
I know they're more stealth games than they are horror games, but
yeah, I would equate them more to like they're much more similar to like a Last of Us game than anything else. You know, it's kind of like instead of modern day zombies, it's medieval plague.
Yeah, right.
And so you come up against villages where, you know, society's falling and they're unhappy. And so it's the kind of thing of like, oh, are we more afraid of the rats or are we more afraid of the people? And like it's definitely the rats. But yeah, I think from playing yesterday, I'm definitely sold on trying more Resident Evil, which is an idea I've been kicking around for ages anyway.
Yeah.
But 8 did a great job of selling me on trying more Resident Evil.
I'm curious how you'll go with 7. 7 is more scary.
That's what I've heard. That's what I thought. But other games, I don't know, man. Like,
PT.
Like if I'm just sitting there on my own, like it's not like I could just go like, oh, I haven't played enough of Into the Breach. I should try that. And then like that's one Saturday afternoon, and then like I've got the next day free as well, and it's Sunday afternoon, and I'm like, oh, you know what I feel like doing? I feel like pissing my pants. Give me like, you know what I mean? Like it's not something I gravitate towards. It's not it can be fun, and it is a unique style of storytelling and engaging with a story.
So then maybe
you know,
maybe a different question, just to interrupt you quickly, is are you now maybe going to be more interested in a horror game that you might not have been in the past because it was a horror game? You know, if a game comes around that is now more on the scary side, which might have initially put you off, is that now less of a barrier to entry now that you know?
Like if people are talking about like a Game of the Year contender, that is something like that.
Sure, yeah. Like, you know, are you now more interested in like the new Silent Hill, not the remake of 2, but like, you know, whatever the next one is going to be, which is probably going to be like a first-person game?
Honestly, no. No, Silent Hill's never grabbed me, and this presentation happened this last week where they announced 800 things for it, and I didn't even bother looking up a recap. I was just like, I heard they announced a lot of stuff. And that was about as much as my interest was.
Is that because of Silent Hill, or is that because it's like the genre that you don't play?
Oh, both, I think. It's like, oh, foggy town is mystery, is spooky, pyramid head sword, spooky. I'm like,
yeah, right.
It just doesn't do much for me, I guess.
Right.
Like, so yesterday you were playing Scorn. And I was glad I was watching you play it because I found the gameplay to be, when I was watching it, I was like, I don't think I'd enjoy playing this. But like even just looking at it, it was like it's interesting, and I want to see more about it, which I got to do by watching your stream. But like my impressions when I see it for the first time, it's like I want to see more about it, but not enough to really invest in it either time or energy wise. Like. Especially not money.
Well, I mean, like, you know, Game Pass, but like, yeah.
Game Pass and all that, yeah.
Yeah, like, we'll go into Scorn later when we go into what I've been playing, because like, I initially was going to include that in my horror game, in this segment, is in like the horror game segment, but as I played it, like, Scorn is not a horror game. In that same regard, it is a body horror game, but it is not a scary horror game. Yeah. But we'll get there. But yeah, okay, that's like interesting. Like I kind of hoped that you would be more keen to do more horror because of this experience. But look, I mean, at the very least, you're more keen to do more Resident Evil, which is good.
Yeah, totally. And like I feel like I wanted to be more keen on it too. Honestly, like I wanted to come out enjoying it, and like I think I might. if a horror game came up while we were doing a game club or something like that, if it came up again, I'd be more down for it. But that was the thing that got me playing Soma in the first place. Like, it's not like that kept me away from it.
Yeah. Well, perhaps an adjacent question: are you now more interested in watching horror films or TV shows that are more directly scary?
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm about the same on those, in that I know they can get really fucked up, like either like super violent or super like troubling, and it just doesn't excite me.
I mean, there are non-fucked up and troubling horror films. There are ones that are just plain scary.
Yeah, it really doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
Let me ask you this one thing. Thank you for getting that.
Yeah.
What is it about something like a Phasmophobia or Outlast or games of this ilk, or what you thought Scorn might be? What is it about it that does entice you?
So I'm still getting into horror, because I've avoided it for a long time as well, because I did not enjoy it. But when I pushed myself, there was a level of it. It's the PUBG conundrum, right? It's the chasing that that intense moment of like overcoming, but also just like the adrenaline, the excitement, and the emotional. It just genuinely making me feel a really intense emotion, whether it is dread, or whether it is fear, or whether it is like anxiety-ish. Like one of the best films I've seen over the past few years was a film called Prisoners, from Villeneuve, which has got Hugh Jackman, and it's got Jake Gyllenhaal. And it was like a really intense thriller that was like a very genuinely quite fucked up story. But the thriller aspect of it was so dread inducing that I was gripped. It was gripping.
Yeah.
That a lot of the time it's like stakes and it's emotion, and it's when you connect with characters and they feel an emotion that is genuine, you feel that emotion as well, and that's really exciting.
Right.
And horror can do that really beautifully sometimes, without it. Like, sometimes it's manipulative, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it is sometimes it can be done in a really beautiful, genuine way. I'm not super here for watching the Paranormal Activities, for example, but
okay.
I would be more keen to watch Invasion of the Body Snatchers, or Malignant, or I watched The Babadook a couple of years ago, and that movie was fucking terrifying. I cannot tell you how absolutely dreadfully terrifying it was. One, because the ghost demon thing in that movie was dreadfully scary, and the other thing was the themes in that film were really intense and really, really personal themes.
Right.
And it came together in this wonderful spectacle of pure terror. That while I don't particularly want to watch that film again because of how intense it was, I'm glad that I've seen it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about Soma at the end of the day, although I do think about going back to it, because I think it's a bit more spread out, it's got its lulls and its ebbs and flows, rather than something that just builds for 2 hours.
Yeah, like the Babadook was too scary for me at that moment, I guess, to the point that going back would does scare me to go back and watch it again. But yeah, Soma, I really enjoyed the frights. The lulls were great, but the frights were these are well earned frights.
Yeah, yeah, so. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. It's well worn territory, but what is it about us that makes us want to do this?
Oh,
that makes us want to make these. That makes us want to watch them for enjoyment. you know.
It's just the emotional desire to be challenged and excited, right? Like like horror is a challenging genre at times, like sometimes it makes you confront things you don't want to confront, like what is behind that door, like I don't know, and that scares the living daylights out of you sometimes. It's why I didn't get very far in Resident Evil 7, and I want to go back and do it because there was a door that I just did not want to go to.
Oh man.
And because there was something on the other side, and when I got really close, that something stopped making sound, and I gave the controller to June, and they gave the controller back to me, and so we turned off the PlayStation.
Yeah, there's so many sounds in that game. There's so many like, oh, you're in a hut and you don't know whether there's something on the roof or something beside you or something under you, and it's just sounds, and it's like crashing or like a growl or rubble or like a door closing. There's always something happening in whatever room you're in next to the room that you're in.
Yep, always.
Yeah. Well, Jeremy, do you feel we thoroughly dissected my brain? Do you think we understand now?
I reckon so.
That's impressive. I didn't know if we'd get there. Yeah. It was yeah, I am keen to get back to more Resident Evil.
It's great. It's like a really great game.
Yeah. I'll definitely be streaming more of it. Sam's in the chat saying, was it in Soma where the monster disappeared in front of you and you stopped being scared of it? Yes, Sam. There was a glitch in Soma where I watched the monster despawn, where I shouldn't have been able to see it, and I watched it disappear. And all of a sudden I understood how the monster worked mechanically, and I could use that to my advantage, because I was like, oh, you get close, run away, disappear for a few seconds to give me some breathing room, and then you come back to scare me again. Yeah. And so I was like, I can work with that. Yeah. Also, it made me laugh my ass off when it happened because it was so funny. Yeah. But yeah, you're right, Sam. Like the unknown is a lot. Yeah. But yeah, then how do you describe the Echoes of the Eye, where it's just terrifying, and I know what they are, and I'm just terrified. Yeah. Yeah. We're gonna kick it to a break now. So stick with us, everyone who's in chat, and we can keep talking all things Resident Evil 8. If you want to hear more about Scorn, and Jeremy's time with it, it was quite the time last night, which he was streaming. Yeah. And also my time with Gotham Knights and a few other things. Then stick around. We're going to tell you all about all of those things once we get back from the break. We'll be right back. What are you eating after this?
I got pasta.
I had pasta before this. I'm probably just going to have some corn chips when I finish.
Corn chips are good.
Maybe some cheese.
Ooh. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the MiniMapCast. We've been discussing all sorts of things, including food we'll have after the show. When I told Jeremy I might put cheese on my corn chips, he made the sound of ooh. Ooh. And then he brought us in from the break.
I might leave that in.
Ooh. So we're going to talk about what we've been playing this week. Bit of a week of relatively new releases. I'm all pent up with my impressions on the latest outing in Gotham. I've been playing this game for ages. Can't wait to talk about it, but I am going to wait to talk about it because following on from our horror discussion, it's good to talk about Scorn, which is, Jeremy, what you were going to play for our previous topic before, as you were playing it, you realized it kind of wasn't as applicable as you thought it would be.
Yeah.
Tell us how you thought about it.
So I played Scorn on stream yesterday. And
Sam and I watched you the whole time.
And let me tell you, that game is fleshy.
So fleshy.
When we talk about games, Kerry, When
Yes.
when we talk about games with a lot going on, we might use the phrase, it's quite a meaty game. Now, let me tell you, in this context, it is not quite a meaty game, but in the other context, what a meaty game.
So much meat,
so much
flesh.
meat, so much flesh, so many body parts, so
many liquids, so much blood.
very wet, a lot of blood, a lot of other fluids from bodies, and quite a lot of genitalia referential looking pieces of mass that is made out of bio. What just a odd fucking game. I tried to explain this to some of my coworkers while I was at work today, and it was just okay. So
I'm glad you had some practice.
yeah, the game itself, it's a puzzle game in a disgusting flesh world, where you're a freaky little guy with a gun that, like, the entire premise of the game is, what if I put things where they shouldn't be put in, and do puzzles from there on out. I don't know what my goal is in that game. It throws you immediately in. There is no preamble, there is no dialogue, there is no characters aside from you. It is just like time to be in flesh hell. When there was a part where I was playing the game, where the very first puzzle that you do is like I think the way Sam described it was like the car parking puzzle, where you just got to move cars and buses out of the way so you can then let the car out of the car park on a grid. It was kind of like that. I want to say the puzzle needed a little bit more to give you what to do, because I think it was maybe a little bit too immediately abstract. I figured it out, but I was sort of sitting there going like, what am I doing?
You got pretty actively frustrated pretty quickly, which seemed fair enough from what we were looking at.
I was playing it up, but I was also just genuinely trying to figure out what I was meant to do. I did indeed figure it out, and I'm glad, because then I progressed onwards. The point of this is, after you finish that puzzle, you get an egg, and the egg breaks, quite a large egg, maybe 1.5 meters. Once that egg breaks, there is just like a body inside of it, but not like a what a body that you might imagine in your brain looks like. What if it was just like a round mass that had arms and legs coming out of where they shouldn't necessarily be, and the head is there, and it's kind of like crying, and not crying, but yelling,
like grunting,
and groaning and uncomfortable. It's a very uncomfortable being that was hatched from such egg. And
it was like a beetle. It was like a beetle, but then underneath the carapace, someone had just stuffed a human in there.
So, spoilers for the game Inside, but it was imagine if the final thing from Inside wasn't a million bodies, but singular. It was like that. And then you put it in a pram and you push it around, and I've got my head in my hands going what is this game? And then I put it.
It was really cute for a minute, though. It's like, oh, he's gonna go.
It was quite sweet.
Walkies.
I was, I put him in his little cot, and I pushed him, and then I pushed him in front of a machine that horrifically added this mechanical device to the back of his head, and then he was just yelling and uncomfortable.
And it was blood.
It was horrific, right? And then after that, I found a machine just prior to that, actually, which was just the same shape where this egg fella would have been put, and then a giant saw blade came and would have sawed his face directly, and his body and everything. And I was like, oh my god, I have to put this fucking guy in the saw blade machine, and I didn't, and I don't know what that was for. But after that, I put the little Scorn fella in a different machine that killed him. And so I could have his arm. And then
it killed him, but like with an ice cream scoop though. It like harvested him with like a.
and then like I put his arm in a machine that you shouldn't put arms in to open a door and continue on, and the entire thing was so gross and disgusting and fleshy, so meaty. What a meaty fucking game that was.
Yeah.
And then there was a lot more puzzles like that. This game's
you went from frustrated with the car parking puzzle to as you said, like head in hands. It's like, what did I do?
Yeah, and it was a very, very intense, gross, visceral game. You know, there was like there's this like lizard creature that was on the wall that was like it was like taunting me, and it stole my gun at some point, and there were like these other like flesh eggs that I got put into a wall, and there were these floating bugs that would like fertilize things, and there's like a lot going on, and
so many things to insert into other things.
Yeah, and like a lot of the things that were happening on screen were just very, very gross. It's a very gross game. I think its direction is quite strong. And I do appreciate like the minimalistic UI that goes along with it. It's like it's very I don't know. It makes you very uncomfortable a lot of the time.
Yeah.
It's not too long. I do want to go back and finish it, but I don't really enjoy the combat at all. Like once I started to have to fight enemies, I was like, that wasn't fun, and I don't know how to get health back. And then I restarted a checkpoint with 1 health, and I'm like, fuck, like that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
That might honestly kill it for me. If I can't get through that section.
You were really quickly done after that last night, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, it's cool, and I like what they're going for. I think that like you looked up the length while I was streaming, and it's like 5.5 hours or so. I think that's
like no longer than.
Yeah, like there's no collectibles, there's no like optional dialogue, there's no dialogue at all. There's barely cutscenes. I don't know. If I can get through the combat sections without really having to try that much, because I don't particularly want to replay sections in this game. I kind of just want to get through it and see what it is for what it is. But after then, like, I don't know, it's neat and cool. I don't really think it's gonna stand up for a long time. I think it's got really good audio and the visuals are pretty neat, and it's a cool study in like, hey, we can make games that look like this.
Yeah.
But like, it's not like it's fun to be reacting to something like this. But I feel like I wouldn't really enjoy this game if I wasn't streaming it.
Yeah, so. I got that impression as well. Like I said earlier in the show, like watching it, I was like, I don't think I'd enjoy playing this. I'm enjoying watching someone else play it and freaking out and talking about it and all of that. But like, it's the kind of thing where at that point, it doesn't kind of matter what the stimulus is at that point if the company's good enough. So, yeah, it's a very singular game. It has quite the vision and quite the focus. I've never seen like a first-person puzzle game like this that wasn't like Portal. This isn't anywhere near the level of Portal, though, is the thing. Like, the puzzles aren't as clever or as engaging as that, I don't think.
There were some ones, like, around the 2010, 2015 era. Like, there was games like The Ball, like Talos Principle, I guess, kind of.
Cube.
Yeah, Cube. Like they do exist, but this one is quite deliberately off-putting. That I think is interesting. Like, look, they've really swung for something, and I think they've come pretty close to achieving what they went out to intend to make. And I enjoy the world, I guess, like conceptually as like a really gross thing. It's the closest thing that I've seen to a video game that like will capture the feeling of watching like pimple popping videos, I guess.
Yay.
I think it's neat.
Finally, my biggest gaming dreams have been realized.
Yeah, right. Look, I think it's neat. I think this game is a good length, and I think it's worth trying on Game Pass to see if you enjoy this kind of thing. But if you don't, like someone in my chat doesn't, then like you will immediately know if you want to play this game or not by just Googling it.
Yeah.
And if you won't, then you probably won't enjoy it, and like that's kind of it. Like there's no maybe I'll enjoy it, maybe I won't. There is like, yeah, I'll play it and like enjoy the visuals, or I won't enjoy the videos and I probably shouldn't play it.
Yeah. Yep, it's pretty clear cut like that, isn't it?
Yeah, and
it's
nothing wrong with that, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope it does well for what it is. I hope it has its audience.
Yeah, and like for the most part, the puzzles were pretty well designed. Like once I figured out what that puzzle was, like it was fun to work out how to do it because I got stuck and I was then trying to work it out and I got it. The other puzzles pretty fun. The walking around different areas of like, you know, like, oh, this key now can open this door and then I can go through here and then I've got this other machine which allows these mechanical things to go through here. Like that stuff is fun and felt pretty natural, and I enjoyed being in the spaces as a 3D space. Because the mind maps that I was building were fun to build because they have some tricky geometry which allows you to get from point A to point C in a different way than you expected. But the style of the game, very visceral.
Yeah, definitely. And I already said so, but it was so fun watching you comprehend how this was making you feel and comprehend what the game was asking you to do.
Yeah, it's fun to react to that game. It's a pretty fun game to have just a like put my head in my hands. I can't believe what the fuck I'm seeing kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. Well, in the same vein of Scorn, not at all. We're going to talk about Gotham Knights. This is a game I've put, I don't even know, probably 20, 25 hours into, maybe a bit less than that. A lot though, more than a dozen, handily more than a dozen hours into this game, for work over the last couple of weeks. And I've been on quite a small journey with this game. I went from quite enjoying it in my first few hours to then having discussions with other people who had the game, and they were saying, "Hey, I think this blows." And I was like, "Oh, hey, look at it! It's got some rough edges, but I think there's something to enjoy here." And then I had to do a lot of like a lot of the generated content to make guides for it. So I was doing all of the constantly regenerating crime combat encounters over and over. So I kind of stalled on the game for a while and got pretty sick of all that stuff. And I've only just recently got back to doing the rest of the story. And the way where I've landed on this game is that I still maintain that if you are excited by these characters, by this world, by the setting, if you think it looks decent, or you're just curious to give it a go, then there is something here for you to enjoy. If you're not already a Gotham Batman, Bat Family fan, or you weren't looking forward to this game, I think it will be pretty difficult for people not in either of those camps to get something out of, personally.
You basically said this game is winning over no one.
I think it's only basically it's not going to make any new friends, I don't think. Now I think for the price, I wouldn't really recommend this to anyone to get to the full price right now. I think it's just not that fun.
Yeah.
But you know, if it comes to... it's the kind of thing where I would heartily recommend it to anyone who was vaguely interested in it, or in, again, the setting, or was just excited about it in general, if it came to a subscription service, or if it was drastically reduced in price. So not even drastically, but if it was like 33% off or something, I was like, you know what, there's something there for you. Go for it. But yeah, it's pretty rough. It starts out. I honestly, there's a lot here that I do like. There's a lot of really neat interactions between. So if you're not familiar with Gotham Knights, it's a game set in Gotham. Go figure. Except it's not an Arkham game. It's not a Batman game because Batman is dead, and you're playing as Batman's proteges. You're playing as Nightwing, Red Hood, Batgirl, and the newest Robin. And the four of them together are trying to solve the problems and the crimes that Batman left unsolved and perhaps led to his death while protecting Gotham. And it's kind of this weird amalgamation of like a co-op single-player game, but it's co-op, and it's kind of got some gear systems like Destiny, and it's kind of like Arkham, but it doesn't quite hit the highs of Arkham because it's trying to give you four different characters that all do the same thing. So you start stumbling into that like Avengers problem where everyone's the same but a little bit different, but not different enough to be that different. I thought the combat was fine to start with, and I thought the traversal was fine to start with. The problem is it's too simple and it wears thin really quickly, especially for the amount of content in this game. You could play this game for probably 50 hours with the amount of stuff that's in there. But I was pretty ready to move on with the combat after like 5.
Ooh.
I enjoyed those first 5 hours. And again with the traversal, but then the traversal kind of stagnates. You're just kind of grappling to the edges of buildings and doing a little leap off them to get a bit further, and grappling again and grappling. And there's it's a very stop-starty kind of a motion. That feeds into something else, but I'll get to that in a minute. So yeah, the traversal doesn't kind of go anywhere. It doesn't really do that much. You get the bat motorcycle to ride basically right from the start. It feels really slow and not that fun.
It feels
so I
slow.
I didn't really use it that much because I didn't enjoy it that much.
What the hell? Why would it feel slow?
Because I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it is actually going through the city that fast.
Yeah,
like I'm watching the meters counter tick down to get to my objective, and I'm like, come on, guys. Come on.
No.
Like, it's not that much faster than grappling.
Because my immediate thought was going to be like, is it just like not enough speed lines and not enough FOV change when you go fast? But
the problem is there's only speed lines. Like, it feels like you're actually just not moving that fast. And so they put speed lines on the edge of the screen, and it helps a little bit.
Oh, dear.
So that's a problem.
Yeah.
I think the story's kind of interesting. This whole Court of Owls conspiracy thing and the way they... there's a really long cutscene at the start, which is really awesome. It's you get to watch Batman's final fight, basically.
Yeah, I've seen this cutscene on YouTube.
It's a great cutscene. It's awesome. It's really cool. And then you're introduced to the 4 characters. You get to pick one. They start picking up the pieces. They load up the belfry. Alfred comes and helps, and he's there. He's your compass. He's your guiding key for the whole game, basically. He's helping you out now that Batman's gone. But this game, with the characters, I enjoy their interactions with each other in the like between mission moments. Mm-hmm. But I think the best writing comes from these small 30 to 90 second cutscenes you get seemingly at random that happen throughout the story as you progress. There will just be, if you're playing as Robin, there will be a certain thing you can go interact with in that corner of the belfry, and it will start a scene between Robin and someone else. There was this really cool one with Red Hood and Robin, because the whole thing with Red Hood is he's angry. He's been resurrected because he died, and so he's an angry guy. He's a bit bent out of shape. He's huge. He's hulking. He uses guns, right, which Batman never did. But he's using non-lethal rounds. And Robin's there helping him. And Robin's there helping him tweak his payload, his actual bullets, to see how lethal they are or non-lethal they are. And they're measuring the output on the dummy that they're shooting, and Robin's saying, look, we're really close to the threshold here. Like, I think we should dial this back a bit. And Red Hood's like, it's fine. Do you know how many of our criminals that we take on have armor? And Robin's like, no, seriously, I think this is too much. And Red Hood's like, these guys deserve it, don't worry. And so Robin's like, fine, if you think these are safe, and like casually just walks in front of the dummy while Red Hood's turned away. He's like, then shoot me with it. And right as Red Hood like turns to shoot the gun at the mannequin again, except Robin's right there in front of him now. And you see the moment on Red Hood's face. He's like, oh, fuck. Oh, shit. And so he kind of reluctantly, he's that sort of brooding, macho kind of guy. But they give him a moment of like, you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe it is a bit too hot. What can we do? Let's bring it down a bit. We'll need to compensate for that. And then he starts going into like the nerd talk with Robin. And Robin's like, great. I mean, we can start talking about gel compensation. Like, there's plenty of those moments in the Belfry throughout the game. And I think they're the highlight for me. Like, stuff about how Robin doesn't know how to grieve about Bruce, and stuff about how Red Hood's all messed up, and Nightwing trying to shrug off his injuries, and Alfred being able to see right through it because he's so used to helping Bruce through his injuries and stuff like that. All of that, I think, is the highlight of the game for me. They're pretty short moments. There's a good number of them. There was one moment, there's one of those cutscenes that's reused for each character.
What?
And this is going to segue in. So all of those scenes I just spoke about, they're all bespoke, and that's fine. But there's this one set of challenges you have to do to unlock your aerial traversal ability. Each character has a different one. Batgirl's got the cape that you fly with, very similar to Batman in the Arkham games. Robin's got this Justice League teleportation satellite, which sucks. Red Hood's got this like spirit jump thing, and Nightwing's got like a Fortnite glider. They all help you get around the city faster. But to unlock those, you need to, with that character, defeat 10 major crimes around the city.
Okay.
That actually takes way longer than you might think. It's like 3 to 5 minutes per crime once you get there. It takes a decent amount of time to get to each one. And 10 is about the very maximum amount of crimes you could do in one night. Sometimes you can't do 10 in one night. So sometimes you have to go back to the Belfry to reset Gotham to generate more crimes to do this 10th crime, right? So you finally do the 10th crime and you unlock your teleportation or your spirit jump or your Fortnite glider, right?
Yeah.
And you can go talk to Alfred. And they're like, oh, we're finally getting the Belfry up and running, huh? And Alfred's like, oh, Bruce would have been proud of you. This is your home. And they're like, yeah, Gotham does feel like home, doesn't it? It's, first I thought it was pretty bad, but it's pretty good. And Alfred said, yeah, Gotham's hard to take care of. Anyway, and that completes the challenge. So that finishes that mission. And you've completed your knighthood, right?
Right.
KN hood. Anyway, you go over to the rack of suits and you change your character, and I did that as Robin, and now I'm Red Hood. Oh, Alfred wants to talk to me on the balcony. And Red Hood goes up, he's like, oh man, we're finally getting the Belfry in shape, right? In like slightly different Red Hood version of words. And Alfred says the same lines that I just heard, the exact same lines. And he's like, oh, Gotham's hard to defend, but, Bruce made it really important. And it was so weird. I don't know why they did that. And that starts getting to the issues of the game pretty quickly. And unfortunately, there's more of them that I want to. I was trying to be really generous with this game. I never want a game to be bad. I always want the game to succeed, right? Oh, but man, they made it hard. Specifically, there's side missions with notable villains. So there's like a Harley Quinn questline. There's a Mr. Freeze questline. There's a Clayface questline. And those have like set pieces and moments. But they're side quests. They don't have to do with the Court of Owls story. I decided to do Mr. Freeze's because they showed off a Mr. Freeze boss fight way back when, and I kind of like Mr. Freeze as a villain in general. And I was going through that quest line. I thought this is really cool, and I'm going through that mission, and like Mr. Freeze has frozen this big tower, and you have to climb it, and it's really intense. The boss fight's bad.
Yeah, right.
It's a bad boss fight. Like so much health. so much health, even when I've got the right elemental weapons, because there's a gear system in this. And it just takes forever. I like die 4 times.
This sounds
and
bad.
I got through it, and I'd heard that the Mr. Freeze boss fight was bad, and I get through it, I'm like, oh, okay, well, that was something. But it's over now. Oh, there's more Mr. Freeze storylines. Oh, he's being broken out of Blackgate. Okay, well, let's finish this up. I get there. They've given him a mecha suit. I gotta kill Mecha Spider Mr. Freeze now. He's got more health. And like I can't get through the first phase of this fight without dying because of how it is. So I knocked it down to very easy. And I cleared it on my first time on very easy. It took me 20 minutes. Not because I didn't understand not because I didn't understand the fight. It just took that long. It just took me that long of Red Hood punching this metal spider's legs and dodging attacks so I didn't get stunned over and over and over. And there are really cool cinematics in between, and like the art and the animation of all of these ice effects I think are amazing. I think the environmental detail is really good in this game, honestly, especially in the missions. But God, it was awful. It was so bad. It was optional. I honestly just recommend maybe people either steer away from it or do it with a friend on very easy and just clear through it for the XP. It's bad. And it just kind of keeps going like that. The main story is not as exciting as I want it to be. I thought it might get better than it did, but it doesn't. And like I said, the best part is the environmental design, and that's about it.
I have a question for you.
Please.
Why did they make this game this way?
I don't know, Jeremy. This is made by WB Montreal. Their last game was Arkham Origins.
Yeah, they don't have an immediately great track record.
No. Also, they haven't released a game in 9 years. Literally 9 years, which is a really long time. And when you're coming out with a game this big, and
it runs at 30.
It only runs at 30 frames per second. It's only on next-gen consoles because they cancelled the previous-gen consoles. It can barely hold a steady 60 frames per second on PC if you have a 4090 GPU. Like,
something's wrong here.
Something is wrong here. I really feel for the studio. I think, honestly, they were pulled in too many directions. I think they were making a live service game like Avengers, and then they saw Avengers come out, and they're like, oh no, we have to make sure this isn't going to be like this, because right now it feels a lot like this. It's way more polished than other games have been in some regards. Like, it runs okay. It never really crashed on me. The performance could be better, but it's way more polished than other games, but the substance just isn't there.
Yeah.
It's just not there, unfortunately. If you love Red Hood, or if you've been dying to play as Batgirl or Robin, this is a great opportunity for you to do that, sincerely. And like, they've got good ways to specialize their combat and stealth and traversal and stuff like that in their skill trees, but if like there's too much that is underwhelming or actually bad with this game to wholeheartedly recommend it to anybody.
Yeah, right. I did have some so I didn't want to buy this game because I looked at the videos and I went, I don't think that looks very good. And then I saw they were doing Court of Owls, and that was the most exciting thing to me because I quite like the Court of Owls comic.
And like there's been a lot of buzz from that from people who know, right? That had me excited for the people who knew it, who were excited.
But I feel like if I played this game, and you know me,
I do know you,
I would rip this game to shreds.
Maybe.
Does it do everything wrong that I don't like about games that do this stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about it pretty early. I was like, oh, the way they conceptualize like to find out about the big crimes that are happening that night, you have to stop like petty crimes and you gain clues, and that reveals the location of a crime that faction was planning for the next night or something. So the more crime you stop the first night, the more crime there will be for you to solve the next night because you'll know where it all is and whatever. And like when you go back to the Belfry and finish for the evening, then those crimes finish, right? Those crimes happen. You let them happen. But realistically, those crimes are endlessly generated. There's no penalty for you letting them go, which is good because it would be punitive otherwise. Which means that it doesn't feel like those crimes happen. It just feels like you get a different selection of the same 15 or 20 crimes that you've done before on the next night, or the next night, or the next night. Once I got everyone's movement ability, 40 crimes later, I was so happy to not have to do any of those until a side quest wanted me to, or the main quest even wanted me to. Like, they'll be like, go back to the main world. Or if you didn't do all those side quests and you're underleveled, you hit like a leveling point at some point with the main missions where you're underleveled, so you need to get into the open world to level up.
Underleveled in a game like this just seems like hell.
Underleveled?
Yeah, like the concept of being underleveled in a game like this.
Yeah.
Do you remember at no point during any of the Arkham games did I feel like I needed to go out and level up?
No. Yeah. Yep. The combat's not as good as Arkham. I prefer the style in this one more than Arkham. Even the way they've stylized Gotham, this more realistic, less stylized version, I much more prefer it. I think I've got a lot of Arkham fatigue. I think it just really isn't my style. I much more prefer this style of Gotham. But like it ain't all that.
Yeah. Yep.
I'll finish the story because I want to see what happens, so I can put a bow on it. But playing more this weekend to get a better feel of it, I was waiting for it to hook me more. And like, that's why I say the environmental design is so good, because the level design isn't. The level design it's just more grappling and more punching, and then more grappling and more punching, and that's fine. But it's all you do. It's the only thing you do.
That doesn't sound
in this
fine.
Game.
That doesn't sound fine.
No, it's fine for 5 hours.
Yeah, so it sounds bad.
No, it's not abjectly bad.
If it's fine
it's
for
just
5
thin.
hours and then not fine,
And then boring.
for how long's the game?
You could probably finish it in 12 for the main story, I'm guessing. I'm not sure how much you need to level in between missions, so probably 10 or 12 if you mainlined it.
It sounds like a bad video game.
Yeah, I think it is at the end of the day. I don't want to admit it because I do enjoy it, and I was rooting for this studio.
Why?
But I don't know, man. I feel like there's too much working against them on this. I feel like they're a studio that, like, Rocksteady had so much success, and they're like, we're not making Arkham anymore. We want to do something else, and so they're making their own thing, even though it's not looking that good at this point.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to follow all the same issues.
Meanwhile, this studio is in WB's pocket, and WB are like, we need another Batman game. Make us a Batman game. And it's like, oh, we don't want to make a Batman game. They're like, fine, make this instead.
I mean, we don't know that. Like, that's not a thing that we know.
I know, but
that's not a
since
thing.
The
that's
last game, like, there's no.
That's not a thing that's come out as if there's some mandate that they need to make a Batman game, because they have not made a Batman game. They've explicitly not made a Batman game. I know, and
You're right.
I know.
I guess
what you
I'm
mean.
trying to rationalize it, right? Like it's hard to figure out why this is the way it is, and I want to believe that there was some manipulation or like directorial notes or something like that. But like,
sometimes
I just don't understand why the game is the way it is.
Sometimes the cake is just bad. Sometimes it's just hey, bad video games get made.
I guess you're right.
The proof. Right. There's proof in front of you.
I think that, no, but the thing that gets me is that there will be people who love this game. It's made in a way that people won't, not everyone will be worn thin by that combat, and people will enjoy playing in this city, and people will enjoy playing as these characters, and that will be enough for them, and they will love this game. It's not like no one's going to love this game. I think that's the thing that's stopping me from saying that it's a bad game.
Oh, sure. It's not like a Balan Wonderworld, but like it's but it's like an Avengers.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, pretty fair to say, a failure.
I don't think I agree with you.
That Avengers was a failure?
Yeah.
I think it was.
Maybe I do agree with you, but yeah, it's tricky because people really like that game. Not as many as they wanted, not as many as people should have, but some people did. So yeah, I don't know. I got to think about my internal compass on this one, I think. But yeah, don't buy this game for full price.
As someone who has not played it, don't buy this game.
Unless you really like the world. No, sorry, I'll shut up. Jeremy, it's time for a segment that we missed last week. It's time for the Fortnite. Jeremy, press the button. Yeah. It's the Fortnite with the fancy video transition.
What a ridiculous thing. Yeah, it is time for another Fortnite. Where it is the yeah, it's pretty cool actually. I like it a lot. It also
Sam
is not
says in the chat, oh geez.
Yeah, I'd like to point out it is not using Fortnite's font. Epic, you can't sue me. Tim Sweeney, you can't sue me.
That's all it takes for people to not be sued is to just say you can't.
You can't. It's true. You can't. Yeah, it's another week, another day, another time to get into the Fortnite. The reason we waited last time was because we were doing a big. Sorry, you in the front.
Yeah, sorry. I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
If I've got my numbers correct, is this the second Fortnite?
No, this is the third.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Carry on. Last week.
We were going to do it last week, and then I decided to push it. One, because neither of us had, I hadn't played enough, and you had played a little bit actually, but I wanted to push it because we were going to do the Halloween-y type episode, and the Halloween event in Fortnite wasn't out yet. And so I was like, oh, look, I reckon it's better just to wait, and so we can play a little bit more, and I can talk about the event. And so I played the event. It's, I think, got a really good name, which is Fright Night.
Yeah.
That's cute. Different parts of the map has been taken over by haunted houses and buildings, and there are zombies. Which is another PvE type thing. There are NPC bosses inside of the world of Fortnite while you're playing the Battle Royale, which you can kill to get high level gear. And this is no different, where there's a boss underneath one of the haunted houses, which is like a scary jack-o'-lantern kind of person that throws fire grenades at you. Easier to kill definitely than the other boss that's in there, the whatever the villain of the season,
the Chrome
the Chrome witch or whatever she is. This boss is easier to kill, mostly because you can just sort of hide behind walls and break line of sight and then do a bunch of damage and then go back behind and break line of sight again.
Do you get good stuff?
Yeah, you get the rocket launcher, and you get I think it was an SMG, I think. I don't quite remember. But similar to last season, where there was the Vibin quest line, where there's every day or so an additional quest gets made. There's event style things. So every day a new quest gets added to the Halloween thing. So when you don't play for a week or so, you come in and there's just a bunch of quests that get added either day or every half day. Which I think is really cool. I think that's a really cool way to do events, is to continuously add more quests throughout the event, so you can still get a bunch of XP and you don't feel like the event's getting stale, because there's at least something to do every time you log in.
Whereas
to engage with it.
Apex, sometimes you log in and it's oh, this thing's still going on? Oh, back to Battle Royale.
Yeah, or okay, you're doing an event that's just skins, and these skins cost money, so I'm just not going to engage at all. This is at least there's something to do there, which I think is pretty neat. There's an Ash from The Evil Dead, an Ash versus Evil Dead skin in there, which is funny. Bruce Campbell is in the game now, and he's got a...
I thought you meant... I thought you meant from Pokemon for a second.
No, I was thinking the other day, what's left? What's realistically left that is going to make a big
six
deal?
things.
Yeah, right? And the only two I can think of is Pokemon and like Mickey Mouse. And they're never going to let Mickey Mouse carry a gun.
Don't think there's any Bethesda stuff in there, right? There's no Elder Scrolls or Fallout.
Yeah, but like I mean like headline making.
You mean like multimedia?
Yeah, like Goku was huge, right?
Yeah.
You know, when they first did Marvel, when they first did Star Wars, that was a big deal.
Beyblade.
Beyblade. Yeah, so yeah, and like there's if you get the Ash skin, which I don't, but like he's got like a custom like axe thing, which is like a chainsaw that replaces his hand, like in the movie, which is cool, and it's only usable with that skin. That's cute. Black Adam's in there at the moment, which is funny.
Yeah, you said should I buy it as a joke, and I was like no, because it's not even funny.
I think it would have been
just
funny.
You spending money.
I think it would have been funny, but not for the price of the skin.
Yeah.
If it was $5, I probably would have done it, but it's $20.
Oh, that led to that interesting conversation, right? Where you were saying like, how much would you spend for your ideal costume? And we're trying to figure out what our ideal costumes would be. Yeah.
Mine, I think, was like Ratchet and Clank, or something like that, right?
Yeah, you said Ratchet and Clank as well as
Sora
Rabbit and Kit.
Oh yeah, that Sora as well. Yeah, Sora would be. Although Sora would never carry a gun. Oh no, he actually carries guns in Kingdom Hearts 3. It does. He's got like pistols. He goes like, it's like ridiculous.
So weird.
Yeah.
I think I landed on Power Rangers. If they had Power Rangers, especially the Power Rangers in space outfits, I would be in like Flynn.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, that's basically it. I wanted to wait till the event stuff was in, because I feel like it fit better with this episode. You've been playing it more. How have you been going?
I tweeted earlier last week, and I was going to look it up so I could quote it, but I've remembered off the top of my head because it's like 20 characters. And I tweeted and I said, "Uh-oh, I think I like Fortnite, ? And it's just kind of caught me off guard. I was playing it solo like multiple times this last couple of weeks, which like I don't do in battle royales. I don't know. I'm just having fun with it in a way I didn't expect to. I'm kind of clicking with the shooting. Sometimes I pop off. Sometimes I get absolutely destroyed. We won 2 games the other night. But even before that, there was a... You tried to stream Scorn 2 weekends ago, not just yesterday, but 2 weekends ago, and then it kind of didn't work. And I popped into your chat, was like, Fortnite, want to play Fortnite, and we did, and we used the Chrome splash and turned into globs of goo and went like while we were swimming around the map and just had silly fun. It's so strange, all the different anime characters. It still boggles me every time. I think I bring it up every time I play this game, literally in game, and then when I talk about it. But just random characters, like cell shaded, is like, oh, there's Morty in a robot outfit. There's Rick and there's Goku and there's John Wick from like season 3 from 2017. Like, this game is absurd. But I don't know. I started to gel with how it feels a bit better. Like, it does just feel a bit sillier and a bit more cartoony until it gets to that final like 10 players left, and it's like, oh shit. Now then it becomes like PUBG in like an instant, where you don't know where anyone's going to be, and you know that they can just wreck you in an instant if they're good enough, and you're just hoping you don't get annihilated. Yeah, I don't know. It just grabbed me in a way that it never has before. Like a battle pass level 40 or something. There's something really satisfying about being able to jump in and have a backlog of challenges and just do whatever is on the list and go up 10 levels in one play session. That's so good.
Yeah, the progression is so fast in this game. Like, you level up so quickly, which is why the battle pass doesn't cap at 100 and why there's like bonus challenges a while after, and you've basically got 2 battle passes. And yeah, it's like, look, I keep struggling with this game because I don't think it's like great.
Yeah, it's old and it's such a hodgepodge of stuck on mechanics that have been added one at a time over the last 5 years. It's quite strange.
It feels like I'm playing a game that's just forever in development. And I don't mean that in like a it's buggy. I mean that in like a they consistently try new mechanics, and I think that's fun. It keeps it fresh. I was thinking last night when I was playing, like when does this game end? Like in what world does this game turn off? Like,
I don't know that it does.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, it feels like the beginning of like, and look, there is.
It's like asking when does World of Warcraft end? You know,
I can see that ending. Only because that game is like, that game is. Look, they have not been doing as well as they once have been, and that is shifting of the times and all that stuff. But that game is different. That game requires a commitment. And that game also is
a subscription too,
and is technically old now. This is like a game from the future, and I don't mean that particularly in a good way. This is a
Ready Player One.
Yeah, like this is the marketing vessel for 400 films we haven't seen yet. I can this is the Facebook of video games. I think is what it kind of is, right? It's the
that is apt.
Yeah, right.
That is apt, my friend.
It is artificial, and plastic. It's technically still very impressive. And it's not like it's not fun to play. It's designed in a vat, which is why it's fun to play, right? It's a test tube.
Did you say a vat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It is artificially designed to hit receptors in your brain to tell you that it's having fun.
Give me that Petri dish gameplay.
Kinda, yeah. And look, I don't want to be completely mean, because obviously people who play this game, people who've made this game are quite good at their jobs, obviously. But I can't help but look at this, knowing that it will eventually be used for nefarious purposes, right? How soon? And okay, who's gonna?
Well, I mean, do you consider marketing to children as nefarious? I kind of do.
Kinda, but
which means we're kind of already there. I don't think it's going to get that much further outside of that realm, right? Because its biggest audience is the old kid, young teen, adolescent market.
I think that's I generally am more cynical than you. But I'm waiting for the day a politician holds a rally inside of Fortnite.
Right, you're waiting for Joe Biden's Animal Crossing Island.
Yeah, but
the Fortnite equivalent. You're waiting for the rally, the campaign rally in Fortnite event.
Yeah, but the Fortnite Joe Biden. Sorry, the Joe Biden Animal Crossing thing was a joke. That was just useless.
Kind of. It was a part of their campaign. That was paid for by their campaign to get publicity for the Democratic campaign for the election.
Yeah, but Animal Crossing Islands are not the same. That was a Pokemon go to the polls kind of level. Yes, definitely. It's not the same as what you're suggesting with this, but I was using that as a jumping off point to talk about this being the logical extension of something like that. Sorry. Yeah. When you can go to something live, when there is a call to action inside of a game like this from something like that, or when it, or like the opposite direction, right? Instead of like, instead of a political rally, what if it's like, political censorship inside of the game, right? Like what if, like for example, the example that went
like
around
propaganda.
Yeah, like what if they start banning the phrase like Xi Jinping, Winnie the Pooh, or whatever? I don't know.
Like Genshin does.
Yeah, I don't know what Fortnite looks like in China, but like, that level of thing. And then it turns into, look, it's obviously the single most like cultural, like the most amount of hegemony you can jam into a game is this, right? It is the status quo of the video game. And it terrifies me.
Yeah, definitely. I know exactly what you mean.
It's like a blockchain game without the blockchain.
Yeah, it's like it's trying to create its own version of something like the blockchain.
Well, like Tim Sweeney's out for years. He's called Fortnite a metaverse and not a game, right? Like that was his argument against Apple when they were taking him to court. And I don't think he's wrong, but I don't think he's right. Like I think he was wrong to do it when he was doing it because he was doing it just for part of the lawsuit. But I know what he means.
Yeah.
And I know where he wants to take that.
Yeah.
Like I'm yelling at the sky.
Uh-huh. Yeah, like this is like throwing a pebble at like a cruise ship that's like 12 stories tall.
Yeah.
It's like, oh. Nothing's going to change or happen here, but it is, I understand the concern. It's scary to see something that large, and that's why people have reservations about something like Disney and why it holds so many of the very largest properties in media across the planet.
Yeah.
And how dangerous that is in terms of media diversity and what that means when they acquire more people and more companies and more studios.
Yeah.
We're looking at that same thing here with Fortnite in a different way, where it informs the monetization model of so many games going forward. The Battle Pass system was kind of was it introduced in Fortnite? I feel like that was one of Fortnite's actual innovations.
It was at least popularized. I don't know if it was the very first, but it was like the biggest game to do that first.
Yeah. And now that's basically the way to monetize your live service game going forward, which is for the best. We're moving away from loot boxes. It's that kind of thing where it's just got so much market penetration, right? It is so popular. It is almost too popular. Like I'll never forget when the Thanos integration happened when Infinity War came out, and you could. Was it that year or the next year with Endgame when you could play as Thanos and like jump across the map and blast everyone with your gauntlet? And
it was Infinity War, and then they brought it back.
It was wild, and they've kept doing it, like with Galactus, with the Marvel events, and the what was it? It was Travis Scott and Ariana Grande concerts, the Star Wars trailers, and like it's become something completely different. I think saying that it isn't a game is completely disingenuous because it was developed as a game. It's only there because it started as a game, and the only reason it's as popular as it was is because of the game. Now it's become so popular, and it was on this foundation which was so malleable that they could turn it into what they were able to with its popularity. But like it was changed by its popularity. It is a game. That is the bedrock of this platform, is the game. And calling it anything else is absurd.
Yeah, but I think
calling it anything else first.
Well, I think the moment that people start tuning into the live events that are not the video game more than they start playing the video game is when you can start to really critically look at that as like, okay, is this a video game now?
Yeah. We're definitely not there yet though.
No, but like I think we can get there very quickly. Like, you know,
it is strange that we could talk about that even being a possibility.
Yeah. and like more like in my camp, like a certainty.
Yep.
Anyway, that was the Fortnite. Join us in the next 2 weeks so we can talk about more stuff like this, I guess.
What are you going to talk about in 2 weeks now that you've had your existential crisis?
I don't know. There'll be a lot more. There's always more. There's always more. It's a churning
flamethrowers
machine.
and I don't know. I'm trying to think of a character they'll add, but I'm stalling.
Citizen Kane.
Citizen Kane. I can't wait for the Metropolis activation in Fortnite.
If they added Metropolis into Fortnite, that would be the only time I ever called Fortnite art.
But Jeremy, there's lightsabers in it. Is that not art?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. You want to know why? Andor doesn't have any lightsabers, and that show's fucking art.
That show is art. The lightsaber do not the art make. Does not the do not art the make?
Doth.
That didn't work.
Nope.
We've only got one last section here to round out the show. It's a follow-up to what I was talking about last week with Clone Hero, which is, for those who are unaware, is a Unity-made, fan-made engine on PC that you can use that lets you use Guitar Hero controllers to play custom songs. I've been playing it this last week. And it's been a fun thing. I haven't played it as much this last week, but when I get into it, it's so satisfying. It's so fun. Like, I just permanently got the guitar beside me here next to the computer. I'm going to sneeze. Oh, bless me. So, I was doing that this week. I was playing some, and we were playing some Fortnite that night, and then people started winding up, and I whipped out the guitar to play for another 20 minutes to wind down, which ended up being 2 hours. And we were playing, and I was streaming, and Jerry's like, "Oh yeah, are you taking requests, Kerry?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure." And you started mentioning things. I'm like, "Oh, are they on the set list of Guitar Hero? Because if not, then I'll have to download them." So we start downloading games,
Songs. Yeah.
We got some Jamiroquai in there. Some, what was it, Dave Matthews Band? Is that the
Steve Miller?
Steve Miller Band? That's right. And also some Daft Punk. And so I figured out how to put this in as a playlist, and we get to the Daft Punk song. It was Aerodynamic. And it was pretty fun. It was pretty simple to start with, and then it's got this really intense solo riff. Like, non-stop. Like, I was like, oh my god. And I yelled at you. I said, "You tricked me, Brenitich!" Failed that song, moved on to the next one, and I circled back around to it. And I was like, I want to crack this. I want to get to it. I want to see what the bit here is. And so get through the opening. It's a bit long. And get to this section. And I'm like, oh, I can see how this one works, because what it is it's alternating between like green, yellow, green, blue, green, yellow, green, blue. So be-do-dee-do-dee-do-dee-do, over and over and over again. And then it kind of alternates. It's that same pattern where you've got this bedrock lower note, which you're playing like twice, and then these alternating upper notes, which you're doing, one then the other. And it was too fast for my left hand. Every time I tried it, I failed. But I've seen this YouTube creator who we've mentioned a couple of times and who we speak about in the Discord every now and then, Asai, who's been around since like the very start of Guitar Hero content creations, when he was like a 15-year-old kid. And he's amazing. He's incredible. He can full clear through the fire and the flames and all of these meme charts that are impossible. And he understands the polling rate of the different engines of the different games on the different consoles. Like, he's incredible. This is his thing.
Yeah.
And there's this technique I've seen him use where this guitar riff, for example, is one where it's full of hammer-ons and pull-offs, which are ones where it's like, once you start the riff, you don't need to strum every one, because like you putting your fingers on the strings on the actual guitar is an actual thing that can generate sound and can can do that.
It's called hammer-on.
Yeah, but then pull-off as well. When you pull off a string, you'll play the note of like what you then let go of it. So so this is it's a really long string of hammer-ons and pull-offs. And I've seen before that with these kinds of things where it's just fretwork, you can use both your hands up on the neck. And I'd never done anything like that before. And I was like, I can see this working. Let me just try this. Because I see the pattern. I just got to do green pretty frequently, and I got to alternate the other ones. But my pinky and my ring finger on my left hand are too weak. They're not strong enough. I can't do it on my own. I need help. And so began this like half-hour process of me. I went into the practice section, and I loaded up the solo section, and it just came back, and I bumped it down to like 60%, and I was like, okay, let's see if I could do this. I have to start the riff with the strum, and then get my other hand up to the neck, with my right hand doing the alternating upper notes, and my left hand handling the lower consistent note.
Yeah.
And I slowly started to get it. The biggest problem was that when you drop a note, you have to restart the strum. You have to strum again to hit it. And so the biggest thing that was starting to happen to me is I wanted to keep my both hands up on the fret. And I had to start strumming with my elbow, which I've also seen Asai do. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, I got to restart it. And eventually I've put the thing slow enough. And it was funny because we were just talking about Rocksmith earlier that week on the podcast. And we're talking about practice and we're talking about getting used to it and stuff like that. So I went into the practice mode and I slowed it down and I started playing it right and kind of like it pushed my way, struggled through it until I made a breakthrough and I started getting it. And I was like, he is beginning to believe. I was like, it felt so good to know that I could do this, not have anyone tell me how to do it, and just figure it out and get there myself. Yeah. It was almost euphoric. It was amazing. To develop this new Guitar Hero skill live was incredible. And so, I start bumping up the speed, and I got the whole thing, and it was like, oh, I could see this happening. And Sam and Jeremy are there, and we're talking, and I'm hammering these fingers, and it's getting faster. I'm like, I can get this up to speed, and I get it up to speed, and then we get to the end of the section. And it's like, all right, the biggest problem here is going to be going from the start section to this solo section without dropping it and dying, like failing the song. And man, that first time I finally got the song done, it was probably less than an hour, but like Joe was sitting there the whole time while I was getting it to work.
Yeah,
and man, it was unbelievable. It was amazing. I like I said in the Discord, it was like I can't describe how much it felt like my brain was lighting up. Like I felt all of the neurons in my brain were getting stimulated by this accomplishment of mine. Of playing this one Daft Punk song on this plastic guitar in the middle of the night was amazing. It was so much fun. I really wished I'd been recording it so I could like see the progress, like go back. It's something a really unique moment. Both for Guitar Hero kind of stuff in general, but also like just gaming. Like I'm gonna remember that for years.
Yeah.
That 1 hour was amazing. So Jeremy, thank you for recommending that song and making me download it.
I'll always ask people to listen to Daft Punk.
Oh yeah, and then we went on. Then you showed me your favorite Daft Punk concert for like the third time, but with a bit more context now that I listened to it a bit more.
Yeah.
That was fun.
I sat you down and I gave you some learning.
Yeah. Now that I was finally ready to hear it.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm so excited! I just want to play that song again now that I was spoken about it. But yeah, that's it for the show, everybody. We're gonna wrap up now. Thank you so much for listening. Whether you're here with us on YouTube or on the podcast service or live with us on Twitch. If you are live with us on Twitch, stick around. We're about to get into the post show. But yeah, if you want to follow this show and everything else we do on minimap.com.au, you can go to that website, or you can follow us on all of our socials. That's Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram at minimapau. You can also follow us individually too on Twitter. We're both there. Jeremy, where can they follow you on Twitter?
At Obi-Wan
You can follow me on Twitter at KJPalmer_24. And yeah, stick around for the chats for the post show. If you're here with us, give us a rating. If you've got the spare time and the bandwidth, if you could just give us a plus or a tick, 5 stars or a thumb up, whatever service you're using us on, whatever the positive rating is on that service, if you could give that to us, if you've enjoyed listening to us, if you've gotten this far through, we'd really appreciate it. It would help us out a lot. And if you know someone who would appreciate this podcast, or one topic in here, like the existential crisis that Fortnite brings upon us, or what it's like to be creeped out by Scorn, or trying scary games for the first time, if you've got a friend who would enjoy a topic like that, feel free to share this with them. We'd appreciate that as well. Lastly, if you wanted to support us monetarily, you can do that by heading on over to Patreon. It helps us keep the mics and lights on. If you wanted to do that, you could go to patreon.com/minimapau, and for $5 you can support us, and you can also ask us questions to answer on the podcast, all while helping us out greatly. That's gonna do it for us this week. Next week we're doing another You Can Have This One. I won't give away the topic yet, but we're gonna do another sort of theorycraft design episode. So get ready for that. Get ready for Jeremy's slick motion graphics. And until next week, stay safe, everyone. Have a good rest of your week, and we'll see you next time. Jeremy, press the button.
Yeah, shit.
We're going to go to the outro now.
There we go.
The slick outro, like the professionals we are. There it is. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.